So I'll go through the design process first and then go through some of the details involved. So for the design process, you want to first visit the site. I normally send through a little survey to the client first, so go through what the different zones are on a farm. So I would have looked up their map on Google Earth and seen how big it was and get an idea about how many zones would be suitable for that site. So I'll send them a survey with, this is zone 1 or 2 or 3, and this is what is normally in this zone. What are your visions for this zone? What would you like to include? So I'll give them a bit of a list and they can pick. So it gives them a bit of pre-thought around how their ideas around production kind of fit in with what we'll be going through with the design process, as far as mapping it out into zones and interconnecting systems. So it gives them a bit of a chance to map their ideas to that process first. So I'll then visit the site and go through a few different things here. I'll map the site, so I use drones to get a good aerial map that gets 2D and 3D images, so you can get a nice, very detailed 2D image of the site, but also get all the 3D elevation details, and you can overlay the 2D representation of, the 2D map over the 3D representation, so that you when you're designing on top of the 3D in AutoCAD or something, you've got a reference point of what is existing there, but you won't get all the trees and buildings and things above ground. That will be what you design, but when you look at it in 2D, you can see what's there. So I do the mapping so that I can do that later for my design. Also, when I visit the site, I'll be looking at what existing structures and the microclimates that they create are there. So what kind of shelter, buildings, water, so all these things that will create various microclimates in the site, I'll be drawing them on the map. When I go there, I'll just print off something from Google Earth so that I can overlay on top of that my notes as to where the trees and dams and pathways and water storage is on the site, and refer to that when I do my more detailed design using the drone photography. But you'll also be looking for clues while you're there, so looking for clues such as the shaping of plants and what kind of plants you get in a site. So wind shaping, for example, there may be trees blown over in a certain direction, and the degree in which they're blown over or moulded in a particular direction will give you an indication of the wind speed and wind direction. And the types of plants, particularly pasture plants that you get in a site, will give you an indication of the management of that site and the conditions at that site. If there's a lot of thistles, it would normally indicate that it's quite acidic ground, it's quite poor in iron, or it could be quite compacted ground. And the type of plants you get, so if you're getting a lot of plants with big tap roots, that would indicate that the soil is quite compacted. So dandelion, for example, would give you an indication, and these are plants that are adapted to certain conditions in the site, and they're working to improve the conditions. So the deep taproot of the dandelion is creating a corridor down into this compacted soil, which as it dies and decomposes will allow microbes and organic matter to infiltrate into the soil and help open up the structure of the soil. If the site's quite loose, so it could be a loose soil or quite cultivated soil, you generally get lots of plant weeds with a big hairnet structure. And that hairnet structure is indicating, well, it's working to help tie together all the soil particles. So it's helping to clump this very loose soil. So it's working to provide more structure to that soil. And also for water, so water you may see as a few different ones. Plants, you might get wetland, reedy kind of grasses in low elevation sites where the water pools in winter. So your more productive meadow species are not living there, and you're getting kind of reedy tussocky, grassy species in those areas instead. So that would be an indication that in winter you're getting a bit of pooling of water. At least in New Zealand, we have wet winters, so that would be an indication in New Zealand of water pooling. But also, the erosion of the site. So is there a lot of loose site? Is there evidence that there's quite a lot of water flow through the site? Channeling of water gullies. So the extent of that channeling will give you an idea about the extent of the water flow through that site. And this would help, some of the clues as to the pooling of water and the extent of the erosion and runoff from the site will be giving you clues as to how you're going to manage the water in that site. So if there's a big area that is inundated with water and you're getting all these kind of reedy species, you may want to incorporate some drainage into that site to help move that water away so that you can establish productive orchard trees in that site that are not going to get waterlogged. Or if it's steeper and you're getting a lot of erosion, you'll need to plant quite resilient, hardy, probably nitrogen fixating plants to stabilize and build up the soil in those areas in preparation for later planting, maybe full-size fruit trees or full-size nut trees that are resilient enough to handle those poorer site conditions once the site's been stabilized by these pioneer plant species. And as the fruit and nut trees become more established, you can cut them back or cut the pioneer species back and mulch them to help support the establishment of the fruit and nut trees. So yeah, what you're referring to your original Google Earth map and making all these notes on it. So you're indicating where there may be pooling water, or where it's eroded, or where existing structures are, and you're writing this down in your notes too. And you may want to just do this yourself, just to get the perspective of the site first, maybe with a few pointers from your client as to any particular considerations of livestock or anything else on that site. But then you want to go for a walk around that site with the client, and once you've got a bit of a context of that site and got a few ideas being generated, that client can help point out on the site what they think should go where, and you can give them some feedback as to some of the things you've noticed on that site. And then you want to kind of sit down with them after that, go through the survey that you sent through earlier, and make some notes on your own survey, or there may be a space on that survey to make your reference notes to, and just kind of help start matching up their ideas and visions of that site with some of the feedback that the site's giving you and what would be best suited to that site. So once you've done that, you then want to go away. Ideally, you've generated some more detailed site maps from drone photography or something else from that site, which will give you a better platform to work with in your designs. And then you want to start asking around, get some feedback and advice from local growers and farmers in the region to get an indication about what is most productive and most resilient in that site. But also what the market factors are, so what people are purchasing, or what are their tastes in that site, and that will help inform you as to the species list that you're going to select from in your design. And then you want to start with your just mapping out the context of that site, so where are the zones on that site, where is the access going to be, where is the house site going to be, and I'll go into some more detail in that soon. But then you want to get back to the client with the feedback from your initial concept sketches and work through them to come up with a final working plan, and then in support of that final plan, give them a report that describes the production on that site, the management of that production, the yields that you would expect, how things interconnect, and a implementation strategy around how to set that up. So I'll go into some more detail here just around interconnecting things, the implementation